This is a stimulus update and daily news report. Finally, the bill passed. That bipartisan infrastructure bill passed in the House, passed in the Senate, making that bill official. But what about the part two, the reconciliation bill with all those stimulus provisions in it? I'm going to play a video clip from Pramila Jayapal giving an update on that, since Pramila Jayapal actually voted for that part one infrastructure vote, saying that she wouldn't do it unless the part two was alongside it. I'm going to play you that video clip. Also, I'll give you the Republicans' perspective. They were not too happy with the passing of that big vote. I'm going to give you a short video clip from President Biden talking about what's going to happen moving forward with his political agenda. Also, we'll go over this article right here. Are you one of the 430,000 people receiving surprise stimulus checks from the IRS? And I'll give you some other more important updates as well. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below. So first, let me give you the stimulus news. Are you one of the 430,000 people receiving surprise stimulus checks from the IRS? So what this is talking about is the IRS recently sent out 430,000 stimulus checks from President Biden's American Rescue Plan. Not really the case. So this is related to the $10,200 unemployment benefit check. So basically the first $10,200 of unemployment money you received was tax-free. So they're sending out 430,000 checks to those people who paid the taxes on it, averaging around $1,189. So I just wanted to break down what this actually meant, because the title could be a little misleading there. Also, when it comes to a fourth stimulus check for the change.org, $2,000 per month to every American. Currently, it's at 2,951,000 signatures, and it is not in that reconciliation bill yet. There is no fourth stimulus check official in any bill or a standalone. I just want to give you that news first. So when it comes to the big passing of the infrastructure vote, finally, Infrastructure Week, White House celebrates $1 trillion bill. So they're saying that Infrastructure Week has been going on for 4.5 years, and finally infrastructure has passed. So House passes $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill that includes transport, broadband, utility funding, and sends it to Biden. So basically, this was the part one. Originally, it was all together, but they Democrats divided it up. There was a part one, which is just the physical infrastructure, creating jobs, roads, broadband internet, electric vehicle, things like that. And then the part two, which is the reconciliation bill, which has all of those stimulus provisions in it. That is still being worked on. I'll give you more details on that. But with this one, basically the legislation would put $550 billion in new funding into transportation, broadband, and utilities. The bill passed after a last-minute scramble to reach a consensus between progressive and centrist on how to pass the infrastructure package and a larger Democrat social spending plan. So this is a really interesting vote, because originally the progressives said that they were not going to vote for this unless the big spending plan, that $1.75 trillion Build Back Better plan, was voted alongside it. Now, this infrastructure vote got tanked 2 times because of that, but now it looks like Pramila Jayapal and the progressives actually voted for it. So it was a 228 to 206 vote, and 13 Republicans voted for it, 6 Democrats voted against it. So here are the 6 Democrats who voted for it. This is also known as the Squad. You can see AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib. One of the people you don't see in it is Pramila Jayapal. Pramila Jayapal, who is the Progressive Caucus leader, actually voted for this bill, which is actually surprising, sort of a defeat to the progressives. I'm going to play the video clip from Pramila Jayapal reacting to this and the reason why she did that. And then there were 13 Republicans who voted for it, and the Republicans are not too happy about these 13 Republicans voted for. I'm going to play a video clip from a Republican perspective as well of why they're not too happy, why the Republicans voted for it. Now, why did they just vote on that spending package or do some more work after that? The reason why, if we look at this calendar, this is the congressional calendar. If we look down here at November, you can see that they are actually off. They're on their work period, their recess or vacation, whatever you want to call it, but they are off the 8th until they don't get back until the 15th. The purple means both the House and the Senate are in session. So looks like on the 15th, the House and the Senate are going to be in session until the 18th, until the House is actually off, and then they're off for another week after that. But what about the Republicans? Republicans were not too happy with this either. So as you can see here, GOP erupts over its House members bailing out Biden. So it's a really unique perspective that the Republicans have on this. Take a look at Senator Haggerty talking about this and why this was a bad move for Republicans.
Look at Tennessee Senator Bill Haggerty right now. Senator, somehow moderates got together with progressives, and enough of them, along with 13 Republicans, voted yes on the infrastructure-only package to make it happen. How do you feel as a Republican about those 13 who voted?
Well, Neil, you recall that I fought this very hard in the Senate. It was very surprising to me to see 13 Republicans basically bail Nancy Pelosi out. She did not have the votes within her own party to do this. We had 13 Republicans that decided to step up and help her in this way. I think what they did was put themselves on a path to early retirement.
So in the Senate, where you had 19 Republican senators doing just that, do you feel the same way?
Well, the situation, I think, should be evaluated in the light of what happened in Virginia. What we saw earlier this week was the American public, certainly manifested itself in Virginia, spoke out. They repudiated these policies that we're seeing coming from the Democrat Party. And what's happened here is exactly what I predicted would happen, Neil. Back in August, I said this when I refused to allow this process to expedite, when I refused to allow this $1.2 trillion bill to be expedited through the Senate. I said this would become the hostage that Nancy Pelosi would use to open the door for this massive big government spending program that they've now teed up for later in November. That's exactly what happened. Nancy Pelosi held this bill for 3 months. The bill was the hostage. They signed it exactly as it was sent over from the Senate. They've sat on it for 3 months until she could get the votes she needed last night to lay the procedural framework to go ahead and move forward on this massive big government spending bill.
You mentioned the Republicans who voted for this, Senator, and Donald Trump has been a little more blunt about even the Republican senators who supported the infrastructure-only measure back in August, and saying we should remember their names. I'm paraphrasing here, but should they be punished? If you're a Republican and you voted for this, do you think you should be punished?
I think the concern that everybody should have right now is looking at what this has laid the groundwork for. This $1.2 trillion package was used by Nancy Pelosi to force her party together, to force together the votes to lay the groundwork to pass this massive 3.5, 6 trillion. You come up with a number, Neil, they're still working on it, and I can guarantee you the CBO is going to come up with a disappointing outcome. But they passed the 1.2 out of the Senate with with a quarter of $1 trillion of a shortfall when they said earlier that it would all be paid for. It was not. I don't expect that to be the case with this massive Build Back Better plan that really is a big government socialism package, and the American public will not want this. I'm thinking the consequences are going to be pretty severe for those who've enabled this, and particularly these 13 House members. After looking at what happened in Virginia just earlier this week, it really does puzzle me.
Now, personally, I am an independent, and I believe in both Republican and Democrat policies. I vote both Democrat and Republican. I pick and choose what I like from both sides, so I'm not one or the other. Now, what I don't like is how this Republican senator is not really pointing out any flaws of the infrastructure bill. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of flaws with it. For example, Joe Manchin's wife getting $1 billion, a lot of shadiness from ExxonMobil deals and lobbyists, things like that, right? Every bill in Congress has a little bit of shadiness to it. Now, he doesn't point out any of that. He just mainly says that it was a bad idea because it was held hostage, but it's no longer held hostage anymore, and pointing out how it's sort of tied to the reconciliation bill, tied to the Virginia election. So I'm not really sure the narrative there, but let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments below. For the Republicans out there, what do you think about the Republicans voting for this? And he didn't really point out that if it was how it affected the American people, more for the Republican Party in general. But that was just my perspective. Maybe I'm reading that wrong. I like to see what's best for the American people, and I think sometimes politicians, both Democrats and Republicans, are so glued to what's best for the party compared to what's best for the American people. Again, I'm not saying that this bill is perfect or that it's going to benefit a lot of people, but I just like to see politicians point out what's good for the American people as opposed to what's good for the party. Anyways, what about Pramila Jayapal and her party? So let's talk about that. Pramila Jayapal says Democrats almost have the votes to pass Build Back Better. So Pramila Jayapal kind of jumped ship with her own progressive caucus, basically saying that she was going to hold the infrastructure vote hostage again unless the spending bill, that $1.75 trillion Build Back Better bill, was going to be passed. Now, Pramila Jayapal kind of got defeated in this situation as well because she voted for the infrastructure bill without any promise or any way of passing that reconciliation bill, which means that there is no more leverage for the Democrats to try to pass that reconciliation bill with all the stimulus provisions in it. Here is what Pramila Jayapal has to say about that.
Representative Pramila Jayapal, Democrat from Washington and leader of the Progressive Caucus, in a really big deal when it comes to getting these bills passed. You've been so out there with your thoughts and really how this is all coming together. So I guess a congratulations is in order because one has gone. There is another one coming. It's worked in a way that you are happy with, I presume. I'm going to ask you details on that, but let's get to what the president said. He held the passage of the infrastructure bill. I mean, it is a huge achievement. But the Build Back Better bill simply got that rule vote, and your Progressive Caucus had, as I said, wanted to vote on both bills at the same time. So how did the equation change?
Yes, Alex, it's great to see you, my friend. Always good to be on with you. Look, we have been committed to how we get both bills through. And I would just remind everybody that 4 weeks ago, we had nothing on Build Back Better. We had an infrastructure bill, but we had nothing on Build Back Better. We didn't have a framework. We didn't have legislative text. We certainly didn't have a vote on the floor. We didn't have any agreement that it was actually going to pass. And what we were able to get last night is to the place where we were able to pass the infrastructure bill, get a firm commitment from all 6 moderates that they would vote for the rule. And, you know, they were not wanting to vote for the bill at the time. They would vote for the rule. And that in 10 days that they would vote for the Build Back Better Act once they've studied the scores. They needed some time to look at the numbers. But they would vote on it. And that is a commitment they made to me. It's a commitment they made to the president. And it's a commitment they put into writing. And so I think that we have to think about this as what was our goal here. And look, the other thing that happened last night, Alex, is that we, progressive leadership and moderate leadership, were able to get in the room. And when I say moderate leadership, I actually mean the 6 that were, that were not there yet. We got in a room together and we worked out this deal on our own. That's what Mark Pocan was saying when he said rank and file. We worked this out on our own. The president, of course, helped. And was really important to that discussion. But really, this was about, can we look each other in the eye and start to reestablish trust? Because that is going to be essential for everything else we need to do. And there have been a lot of ways in which that trust has disintegrated. And I think this was a really important moment that I haven't seen anyone talking about yet, where we were saying, let's bring some creativity to the table in terms of how we solve this with the statement of agreement that they will vote for the bill, but also let's start to look each other in the eye and not allow other people to come in and try to negotiate for us. Let's do it with each other. And I think that was a really important moment. I trust them completely. I will say that. I said that last night. I'll say it again. I trust that they looked me in the eye and said that they were going to pass the Build Back Better Act as soon as they had had a chance to look at the fiscal information. And that will be transformative. We will send it over to the Senate, just as we anticipated, with more in it, Alex, than even what was laid out in the Biden framework. So now we have paid leave in there. We have an agreement on pharmaceutical drug pricing. We have immigration. We have really a remarkable package that at this point is about 2.1 trillion. So I think this is a really fantastic agreement for the American people, and delivering the infrastructure bill was a true honor to deliver that. Progressives delivered that bill. Without us, it would not have happened. And we delivered that bill to the president, and he's going to be able to sign it.
Listen, major kudos on all of this, and you should be lauded for getting this all together. But to your point of looking colleagues in the eye, did you look in the eye of 6 of your progressive colleagues who voted against infrastructure? We're showing them on our screen. Did you know they were opposed? And were you aware that it was just enough of a number to actually send a message, but not enough to stop the infrastructure bill from passing?
Yes and yes, we did. And listen, they would have been with us had we reversed the order of the bills and done the rule first and the BIF second, which we tried to get for quite some time. We were not able to get that, but they would have been with us if we had done that. But they really also had tremendous principle in feeling that, they were, look, this is a hard situation where trust has disintegrated on so many levels. I have been very clear, Alex, to never call out people because I believe we have to work together. And I think we've just got to recognize that we have very slim margins. The Senate has to recognize that we have slim margins in the House. The House has to recognize the Senate has slim margins. And we collectively have to recognize we have slim margins. That's what leadership is about, is getting us to a place where you can do what you need to do, and you can also allow some space for members to be able to do what they need to do. So we delivered enough votes to pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill.
What are your thoughts on what Pramila Jayapal has to say? From this point moving forward, the Democrats do not have any more leverage to try to pass that reconciliation bill, which means that their strategy of holding the infrastructure bill hostage for around 3 months didn't work. They didn't get their spending bill because, I guess, the lack of organization, maybe some incompetence there. They couldn't get the spending bill finalized due to a lot of different moderate and centrist Democrats kind of negotiating, bringing it down. But it looks like the winners in this situation are the moderates, Democrat moderates, especially Joe Manchin, because he had a lot of say in this infrastructure bill. His wife gets $1 billion for her Appalachian committee. So I'm not sure who the real winners and losers are in this situation. Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments below. What did President Biden have to say? So Biden hails monumental step forward as Democrats pass infrastructure bill. Now, this was a long speech. I'm just going to give you a shortened clip of what he has to say.
Finally, Infrastructure Week. I'm so happy to say that, Infrastructure Week. Folks, yesterday, I don't think it's an exaggeration to suggest that we took a monumental step forward as a nation. The House of Representatives passed an Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. That's a fancy way of saying a bipartisan infrastructure bill, a once-in-a-generation investment that's going to create millions of jobs, modernize our infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, our broadband, a whole range of things, to turn the climate crisis into an opportunity. And it puts us on a path to win the economic competition of the 21st century that we face with China and other large countries and the rest of the world. It's going to create more jobs, good-paying jobs, union jobs that can't be outsourced, and they're going to transform our transportation system with the most significant investments in passenger rail, the most significant investment in 50 years, in roads and bridges, the most significant investment in 70 years, and more investment in public transit than we've ever made.
What are your thoughts on what President Biden has to say? Do you think that his part two, the reconciliation bill, is going to move forward now? What do you think about President Biden passing this? Is it going to help his approval ratings? His approval ratings have tanked a lot over the past few months. Do you think this will help him? Do you think this will help the country? Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments below. And that is all the stimulus news that I have for you today to hopefully brighten your day a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day. So I actually woke up Bella doing this video. You can see the bed right here. She was actually sleeping, but I really wanted to give this news to you in this video. We're actually staying at a family member's house, so Bella and I slept in the same bed together. Bella, you want to give the tip of the day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi guys, this is Bella. This is the tip of the day. And what you should always do, you should always be together with someone. You should always have a friend beside you. You should always have someone right next to you because they might be lonely and you should always be with them. So that's all I wanted to say. So bye.
And that was just 2 minutes after waking up. Good job, Bella. Thank you so much for watching. So we're actually visiting a family member's house. Sorry, I took the day off yesterday. I was actually in a pickleball tournament. Pickleball is kind of like tennis, and my partner and I actually got the gold medal for that, which is pretty cool. So we went out to North Carolina for that tournament, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. So we won the tournament there, and yeah, so now we're just staying with some family members for a couple days, and hopefully you're having a great weekend as well. If you want to check out any of my other videos, you can click up here or down here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you.